Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It's Tuesday, January 27th. We are going to jump into the case of 18-year-old Megan Trussell. I'm going to tell you Megan's story here in a second, but before we do, I was looking at my analytics on YouTube, and get this, 45% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So if you like my content, consider subscribing. It's absolutely free, helps put my channel out to more people, and consider giving this video a like. That's the best things you can do to support the podcast, and I appreciate you so much. I've been wanting to get to this story for quite a while, but you guys know after CrimeCon, I was taking care of Grammy, and then with her passing, I took a few weeks off. So I'm glad that I'm able to finally tell you Megan's story because I have a lot of questions, and I think by the end of this, you guys will as well. So let's jump in. Megan was found dead near the 40-mile marker on Boulder Canyon Drive in Colorado on February 15th, 2025. So not even a year ago. The Boulder County Coroner's Office determined the cause of death was toxic effects of amphetamines combined with exposure to cold, and they classified the manner of death as self-harm. Now, Megan's parents do not believe these findings. But let's first break down who Megan was and a timeline of the case. Megan was born September 12th, 2006 to Vanessa Diaz and Joseph Trussell. I'm telling you guys, these are some of the most beautiful, kind, yet broken-hearted parents I've ever met. Megan also has an older sister, Lindsay, and they were raised in a very tight-knit family in beautiful Denver, Colorado. Even though her parents were divorced, they all remained close, and her parents co-parented in a very healthy way for their girls and even traveled together. One road trip was from Canada to Baja, Mexico in a VW van. Megan also loved traveling with her mom and her sister, and in fact, Megan was really excited to study abroad in Spain. She was said to have a knack for understanding her loved ones and would let them all know that she was their best friend, and she was also described as being very witty and loving. Megan was very unique, and she stood out. A lot of that came from her parents encouraging her to just be herself. She also could find the humor in any situation, but was also a very empathetic person. She had a strong moral compass, and she was also bilingual. She was fluent in Spanish. Her heritage does include Spanish and indigenous ancestry, and that was something she was very proud of, and it was very important to her. She was also insanely talented. Some of her talents included art, where she would sketch her loved ones and friends, and her dad affectionately called her a prodigy smartass. She also played bass guitar and had a huge vintage CD collection. Her parents passed on their love of 90s grunge music to Megan, but her music taste ranged from the Smashing Pumpkins to the Jonas Brothers. Megan also was in theater. In middle school, she was in a play where her character had a Russian accent, and she was so good with that accent that people literally thought she was Russian the rest of that school year. When it came time for college, Megan chose to major in film because she loved everything about the movies. Megan and her dad were movie buddies from a very young age. Some of her favorite movies included The Birdcage, one of mine too. Anything Disney Pixar, she liked the Twilight Saga, and she loved a good whodunit, like the movie Clue or Death on the Nile. When Megan decided to major in film and before she left for college, her dad wanted to show her classic movies she hadn't got around to seeing. So that summer, they went on a binge fest to some of the all-time great classic movies. Once she went to college, within the first week, Megan knew she was going to love this new phase in her life. She texted her dad that college rules. Once she settled into classes, she was able to catch up with an old friend who was also attending there, and she really loved all the classes she was taking. It was very easy for her to make a lot of new friends. Her older sister, Lindsay, lived close to her in Boulder. They would get together on a regular basis, and she would still see her parents several times a month. And while at college, Megan found love. She began dating a young man, and it got serious after winter break ended. By January of 2025, Megan was in her second semester, and she enrolled in a few new classes, including photography as a non-major, and she also took a screenplay class. So now that we know a little bit about Megan and her family, let's get into what we know about this case. On February 8th, 2025, Megan told her sister that she had plans to watch the Super Bowl with her boyfriend the next day, February 9th. They also talked about their cousin who had an upcoming birthday, and Megan was really excited about that. The next day, February 9th, Megan didn't text her sister, which at first was not a red flag. She thought maybe Megan needed a little time to herself. That next week, her sister texted a photo of her cat to Megan, but again got no response, which was odd because Megan typically texted her back. So her sister just assumed she was busy with school and would reach out to her sooner than later. But her dad was also trying to text her to get some dinner plans going with Megan and her sister, but she didn't respond to her dad either. By February 12th, her sister and her parents were concerned that she hadn't responded to any of them, so her mom decided to look at Megan's cell phone history. She found there had been nothing on her phone since February 9th. And her mom, just with that mom gut instinct, knew something was majorly wrong, and her gut told her something bad has happened. Her dad looked into her bank accounts and also saw there had been no activity at all since February 9th. Two huge red flags. Her mom looked through her call logs and started calling everybody, but nobody had heard from Megan. But her mom knew there had been tension between Megan and the roommate. And even though there was tension between the two, they did have times where they were fine and they got along. But after talking to the roommate who hadn't heard from her since the 9th, Mom decided to call the University of Colorado Boulder campus police and report her missing. According to Mom, instead of approaching this with a sense of urgency, campus police suggested maybe she was couch surfing since that was something they had seen a lot, and they believed she would just show back up. But her family knew that was not the case. If Megan was going to stay anywhere, it would have been with her sister, Lindsay. Megan's mom, dad, and her uncle drove to Boulder to file a missing persons report. Her sister went by Megan's dorm room, and her roommate still had not seen or heard from her since February 9th. The family asked the college to look over their surveillance footage to see if there was any signs of Megan. They did focus in on someone with blue hair since that was the color of Megan's hair on her college ID, but they had not asked for an updated photo of her. Later that evening, campus police asked for a current photo for a be on the lookout, so her mom gave them a current photo which showed her current hair color, and it was red. Campus police realized they had spent 4 hours looking for the wrong person. The college did release the be on the lookout, but no searches were conducted that night. February 13th, 2025, her family spent the day hanging up flowers around the city of Boulder. And it took a while, but eventually, campus police realized at this point it was unlikely that Megan was just couch surfing. And realizing this was an urgent situation, the FBI was brought into the case. Another thing to note, on the night Megan disappeared, the temperature dropped to 17 degrees. That's not including the wind chill of what it actually felt like. I don't have to tell you guys how cold that is. The FBI goes through security cameras, dorm hall key access logs, cell phone records, and witness statements to try and nail down Megan's movements on February the 9th. Now, Megan's boyfriend was at her dorm room while the roommate was gone to work. The roommate had left work around 9 p.m. and went back to their dorm, and an argument ensued since Megan's boyfriend was in the dorm room. After that argument, the roommate returned back to work because she was on break, and Megan's boyfriend said he really did not want to be in the middle of all this and thought they needed to take a break from dating. He left the dorm around 9:17 that night, and his mother said he was back home within 15 minutes. Megan left the dorm at 9:36 p.m. and was spotted walking on campus alone. She was walking at a leisurely pace, and there was no sense of urgency that they saw. Her family saw the footage, and they said the way she was walking looked completely normal to them. She was last seen wearing white platform tennis shoes that were approximately 3 inches tall, red pants, and a black and bright blue short-sleeved TV Girl t-shirt, along with a lightweight dark-colored coat. Not a winter coat you would expect to wear on a night where it's 17 degrees. You would expect for somebody to be wearing a heavy winter coat. She was also carrying a round blue and pink crossbody purse that has a star on it. It was modeled after the one worn by the character Ramona Flowers in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. What's unique about this purse is her mom handmade it, and it was absolutely one of Megan's favorite things. And she actually called it her security blanket and would even wear it if she was just sitting on the couch hanging out. I did see this purse at CrimeCon. Her mom had one just like it. One thing that's going to come in later that she pointed out to me is where the strap meets the body of the purse. If you've had a purse, you know sometimes that area can weaken over time and it separates. So her mom had reinforced that area to make it extra secure. So just keep that in mind. So Megan was last seen on security camera on campus at 9:52 p.m. north of Hallett Hall. While Megan didn't tell anybody where she was headed, her parents believed she was either going to her sister's place or the Circle K. And her sister's place was only a couple of blocks away from the Circle K. Since the temperature was 17 degrees that night, and given the fact Megan was last seen with a jacket on and no winter coat, her family just assumed she did not plan to be outside for very long. There was no footage found of Megan from homes and businesses on the route she would have normally taken. Investigators tracked her roommate's movements as well. She clocked out of work at 11:29 p.m. and was back at the dorm by 11:37 p.m. She sent a text to her friend who is usually over there saying that she and Megan had an argument and asked them to come over. The friend stayed until Megan's family showed up to report her missing. This person also slept in Megan's bed. The roommate told investigators she went back to work and stayed until the end of her shift, and she said she and Megan spoke briefly after she got back to work. The roommate did let investigators look at her phone, but the call log showed Megan tried to call the roommate at 9:28 p.m., and that was unanswered. A minute later, at 9:29 p.m., Megan texted the roommate, "I'm so sorry. You won't have to worry about it happening again," to which the roommate replied, "It's honestly not okay, but it's whatever. I want him gone when I get out of work." Megan replied, "It's over," which the roommate assumed meant she had broken up with her boyfriend, and she later confirmed that with Megan's boyfriend. She assumed Megan went to stay with her sister to give her some space, but after not hearing from her again, she tried texting Megan on February 12th just to see if she was okay, but those texts came back as undeliverable. The roommate told investigators that when she returned from work that night, she noticed 4 empty Adderall bottles sitting on Megan's metal cart table. This is also where Megan kept her over-the-counter medications. She told investigators Megan typically left 1 or 2 pills in each bottle because of an ongoing Adderall shortage, so she would try to keep extras for emergencies. She assumed Megan had just combined the remaining pills into her current prescription bottles and took them with her when she went to her sister's, so she wasn't concerned when she saw those empty bottles. Detectives later collected those prescription bottles, and those prescriptions were dated from May, August, October, and December of 2024. Megan's parents also told investigators she rarely threw away old prescription bottles, and it's just something they possibly attributed to her having ADHD. Detectives observed that Megan's dorm room was cluttered and messy, and there was trash scattered throughout. Police body camera shows the bottles on the cart, with 3 of those having the lids off and 1 of those being closed, but nothing was out of place or in disarray on that cart. The roommate told investigators that Megan was not expressing any self-harm ideation and noted that Megan hated the cold and the outdoors, and she did not like to walk places. Investigators did confirm Megan's work schedule. Investigators also talked to Megan's boyfriend. He was not considered a suspicious person and was very cooperative. He did help search for Megan. The FBI ended up using Stingray technology to try to track Megan's phone and see where it had been pinged at. So what is Stingray technology? I took a little trip on Google, and it acts like a regular cell phone tower, And when a phone is looking for a signal, it may automatically connect to that instead of the usual cell phone tower. Law enforcement can use this to track a specific phone, track movements in a certain geographical area, and it also shows other phones that were in the area at the same time. In using this technology, they found her phone at 10:45 p.m. was pinged near Eben G. Fine Park. That's a park that is very remote off of Boulder Canyon Drive. And the walk from campus to here from her dorm would have taken close to an hour. Then at 11:55 p.m., her phone pinged near the 40-mile marker of Boulder Canyon Drive. And that put her even further in the canyon, going in a westerly direction. After this ping, the phone was either turned off or the battery died. So you're looking at approximately 3.3 miles total from the last sighting of her to where her phone last pinged. The total amount of time under optimal conditions it would take you to walk that would be about an hour and 15 minutes. I do not see how she was able to do that. I totally 100% believe somebody grabbed her. As we get into part 2 and get into the evidence and things that were found, I think you guys will see why I feel the way I do. Family says that Megan was actually scared of the dark and confirmed what the roommate said, that she hated the cold and she hated walking. The path to get there is frozen over all of the time in winter, and there are no street lights, so it's just pitch black. Megan was also aware that Boulder Canyon had a sizable unhoused population, and the area is known for its heavy drug use. Another reason they don't think she would have went there, because the college warned students not to venture out there, especially if you're a woman walking alone when it's dark out. After learning Megan's phone had been pinged there on the 9th, the Boulder County Sheriff's Office came into the fold and joined the investigation. From there, a search was launched between multiple agencies using drones, a dive team, and search and rescue dogs, but Megan was not found during these first searches. February 13th, a volunteer named Max and his search partner, who were with the Boulder Emergency Squad, were assigned to search again at the 40-mile marker. They searched along the creek that runs parallel to Boulder Canyon Drive. And right past the 40-mile marker, Max saw a drainage culvert that runs beneath Boulder Canyon Drive. So a culvert is like a big cement drainage pipe that runs underneath the highway. To access that culvert, you would need to enter the side closest to the bike lane, which was on the opposite side of the road. That culvert goes underneath Boulder Canyon Road, and then you come out to a rocky creek bank. An adult could crouch down and walk through that culvert. There is a homeless camp inside the culvert, as well as on the far side near the creek. Max climbed up that slope to reach the culvert, and he used a scope to look inside further. About 8 feet in, he found an empty Adderall bottle and saw that was prescribed to a man. So, thinking it belonged to somebody who was homeless, he just put the bottle back where he found it. They continued searching but found nothing else, and they left. 2 days later, over 130 volunteers, including Megan's parents, met at Boulder Canyon to search again. At 12:30 p.m., Boulder Canyon Road was closed near mile marker 40, and rescue trucks were on scene. It had started to snow, so at first everybody thought it was due to the weather, but hoped the search teams had found something. Megan's dad asked why there was a roadblock, but he was told those details could not be shared. The snow started picking up, and the search was called off around 2:30. About an hour later, they learned a body had been found at that 40-mile marker. 2 park rangers found Megan 8 feet below the culvert that Max had searched days earlier. She was laying on the boulders and the rocks. The reason the park rangers wanted to search that area again is they were informed that Max had found that empty pill bottle, and so they wanted to search that culvert a second time, and this is how they found Megan. She was found frozen with a thin layer of snow covering her. She was found on her back with her left arm stretched to the side, and the jacket was off of that left side. The left sleeve was ripped and draped over her chest, but her right arm was still in the sleeve. She had on one fingerless glove that was on inside out on her right hand, but no glove on her left hand. And to get to where Megan was found, rescuers had to rappel down the slope. And once they reached her, they saw a broken stick near her right side, close to her arm. And her left hand and fingernails were dirty with debris and dirt, but there were no injuries to the palm of her hand. She was still wearing the clothes she was last seen in. However, her right shoe was missing. She still had her sock on, which was torn in the heel area. Her left shoe had major scrapes in the toe area and on the sides, which had not been there before she was found. I have a picture of the shoe up on YouTube now, and if you're looking at this, to me, the way the toe of her shoe looks, it looks like she's been dragged for an extended amount of time to get that much wear off the tip of her toe. On the sole of the shoe, there was no sand, no dirt, no mud, although there was dirt and sand on her hands and clothes. She was found laying on a dirty and worn fabric, which police believed to be a pair of sweatpants or a t-shirt. It did not match any of the clothing Megan was last seen in on surveillance, and they still don't know where that came from. The family says police have not shared any photos of the cloth and have given several answers as to what it is. And those answers have ranged from a shirt found under Megan to sweatpants that belonged to Megan. I'm putting on screen here a photo of that material. To me, it looks like this possibly is on scene because you see a tarp underneath. I'm not 100% sure about that, but there's no other photo than this, is my understanding. And before we end part one, let's look at photos of where Megan was found. You can see the slope here. You can see that drainage pipe coming out. And the distance from the drainage pipe to where Megan was found is about 7.8 feet. Another thing to note, crime scene photos show the bottom of her pants were pulled up close to the knees, which left her lower legs exposed. So in the next episode, we're going to get into the investigation and an answer to the Adderall bottle that was found in the drainage pipe and the many questions her family still has to this day, just like a lot of us who are familiar with this story. That is it for now. We will see you soon.